Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome. This presentation will be in English, but we will also have translation in Spanish by Jackie Leon. So, muchas gracias. Bienvenidos a todos. I am Maggie Churchill. I'm so fortunate to be and so honored to be the president of this organization, NJTESOL-NJBE. But I'm presenting to you today as a parent of 3 children. And our presentation today, we're going to be talking about is career exploration and how to help your children. So it's really from the perspective of a parent. And it's really my process of something that I did. And it was such a great process for me that I wanted to share it with everyone here. So I'm going to pause for a second and ask Jackie if she could just do some translation for us in Spanish. Thank you.
Hola, bienvenidos a todos. Mi nombre es Jackie León y estoy traduciendo para la señorita Maggie Churchill, que va a ser la presentadora para este taller. Entonces, ella es presidente de esta organización New Jersey TESOL, New Jersey BE, pero hoy viene a ustedes como pariente de 3 niños y le va a dar información sobre la exploración de carreras.
So just to get to know everyone in the room, I'm going to ask if you would type in the chat how many children you have and their ages. If you, or maybe you also want to include if you have nieces or nephews or grandchildren that you care for. So if you could share just a little bit in the chat, the ages of the children that you know and love, so we can just sort of have a sense of the age range that's here today.
Para conocernos un poco más durante este taller, favor de usar la función del chat para introducirse con su nombre y las edades de sus niños.
Okay. Got teenagers. God bless you. I'm sure they're still sleeping.
Hi, mi nombre es María Guevara, mi hija se llama Alison García, ella tiene 12 años, va a entrar el primer año a la high school.
Gracias.
De nada.
Okay. Well, it's never too young or too early to start. And so in this presentation, I'm going to share my screen now. I do have some resources to share for younger children. So we'll talk about elementary school age, middle school age, and high school age. I am going to preview a lot of links and sites with you. So if you have access to the parent resource page.
2, 8 niños y 12 años.
Okay. If you have access to the parent resource page, the link to the PowerPoint is in there. So feel free to explore on your own along with me. I'm going to share my screen so I can show you what that looks like. And let me just make this a little larger. Okay, I hope that looks okay for everyone. Okay, so today we're going to talk about what shall I be? Career exploration for parents and students. So it's meant really more as a guide for parents, but there's very practical links to sites that you can begin with your own children. You can begin at a young age, and I'm going to be talking about the process that I went through as a parent to help my middle child, and it's the same process I'm going to be continuing with my 13-year-old starting this summer. So the picture that I have here explains just the general process, and we're going to be looking closely at ways to assess yourself and how to do the research, because it's really the early work that you do with your children from a young age that helps them start to see themselves in careers, see themselves, and help them envision their future.
So de nuevo la presentación va a ser sobre Es como una guía para los papás en enseñar a sus niños cómo explorar un poco más sus intereses que lleguen a carreras. Entonces, estos 5 pasos aquí detallados es un poco para que usted se evalúe y también investigue un poco más los diferentes pasos para sus niños en las carreras que ellos identifican y ayudarlos a hacer decisiones y tomar acción para tener suceso, logro en sus carreras.
So when I was growing up, this was my favorite board game. This was the age before video games, and it's a board game that's called What Shall I Be? And I played this game very often with my sister. And as you can see, this game, it was career exploration, but it had a very limited view of what women could be. Your choices were these pictures: a ballerina, an airline stewardess, a teacher, an actress, a nurse, an opera star or a singer. And so this game, you would play this game and go around the board and have a way to explore careers. But unfortunately, it was very limited. It had a very limited view of women's potential. And that was a game that was from the 60s. And there was a complement game that was for boys, which of course your choices were to be a doctor or a football player or an astronaut. And so when you begin this exploration with your own children, I invite you to shatter some of these stereotypes and promote exploration. So we want to promote potential and interest instead of our beliefs or society's beliefs of what a woman could be or what a man could be, or that a career path is specific to a man versus a woman. Or so we want to eliminate any type of gender, because that was really my experience. And I wanted to immediately, when I thought of this presentation, I thought of that game. And I had a lot of memories, very strong memories of playing that game. And even though it was very female focused, what was important about it was that I started from a young age to explore what I wanted to be.
Como padres, cuando comiencen a explorar las diferentes carreras con sus niños, es importante que animen a explorar fuera de los estereotípicos carreras que a veces se dan para hembras o para varones. Entonces, es importante que tengan una amplia vista de qué pueden ser sus niños. Y cuando comiencen a investigar estos pasos para las carreras, comenzar a romper esos estereotípicos carreras que usualmente son de hembras o de varones, es tan importante para, de nuevo, investigar sus intereses de forma amplia.
Thank you. Okay. So this is the process that I begin in general, just sort of by asking. And it's a question that I've asked my children from a young age. It's a question that I ask even my students as a teacher. It's always one of the questions that I have in just getting to know them. After I have background information, I ask this question, and I ask it often: what do you think you would like to be someday? And as parents, maybe you've asked this question already, and you've probably noticed that the answer is going to change, and it should change, but you want to keep asking that question. So ask that question often. What do you think you would like to be someday? Again, it helps children start to envision their lives, a path, a trajectory, and how adults and other interests can start to shape who they are and how they can start to hone in on what some of those interests might be. So it's a question that we should ask our children often.
Couldn't unmute.
Okay.
Cuando comienzan a explorar estos pasos de la carrera, una de las preguntas que deben de preguntar a menudo, aunque a veces con los niños puede cambiar frecuentemente, es qué cree que le gustaría hacer algún día, ya cuando sean mayores. Entonces, esa pregunta es tan vital porque ayuda a los niños a visualizar los diferentes intereses y también le ayuda a los padres a investigar cómo apoyar a sus niños en explorar esta carrera más.
And then from there, start to find ways to explore what these possible careers could be. Is there someone they can interview? Start with your own family. If you look within your own family, you will find many different careers. Everyone does something different. And these are people that children can start to ask questions early on. They can interview them to ask about their job, what it is, what do they do? And so they're familiar, they know these family members, and it's a great way for them to start to explore the career, but also to start to ask questions. And that actually helps them build a skill we're going to talk a little bit later, called employability skills. So by interviewing someone, asking questions, and having a conversation, you're also teaching them that skill of how to listen and how to speak, and to keep that topic going. So just by starting with your own family, they can find people already who have careers that they can talk to. Can they spend the day with that person? Can they spend the day with a friend or a neighbor at their job? Can they visit the job and see what it's like? And then also start to explore at your local library. I have included in our resources here a book list, beginning in an elementary. And these are all books that are easily available in your public library. And then look into classes, start exploring classes. This is, again, the same process I did as a parent with my own children. And each child is very different. I have one, my eldest child knew what he wanted to do from a young age. And so it was easy with him, but I didn't expect that with all of my children. He took classes from a young age and he always knew what he wanted to be, but I think that's pretty special. I haven't met too many who know exactly what they want to be. So I think finding those ways to explore from the beginning will help them start to narrow down interest and start to envision and see themselves, and see others and adults around them as assets, people they can look to and ask questions to.
Ya cuando su niño comienza a identificar un interés en una carrera, es importante que el niño también explore. Por ejemplo, puede identificar a familiares que hacen un trabajo similar o igual. Pueden pasar tiempo en su biblioteca o buscar clases que puedan apoyar el crecimiento de este interés. También esa habilidad de hacer preguntas, de preguntar cómo se hace esto o qué tipo de trabajo haces tú diario cuando eres un profesional en esta carrera. Las diferentes preguntas también es una habilidad que se puede fomentar para que el niño pueda entender si tengo interés, no tengo interés, será algo que me gustaría hacer más a menudo. También quizás si tiene un familiar que está en una carrera que su niño expresa interés, pregúntenle, ¿puede mi niño pasar algún tiempo contigo en la oficina o en su área laboral? Entonces, así el niño puede comenzar a investigar un poco más cómo se siente o cómo se sentiría en esta carrera.
And I think that's so important, seeing your own family at work, seeing your own relatives at work, people that you know and are familiar with. So it's just a great resource that we already have. I myself am the third generation of teachers in my family. So I saw my father at work. I went to the school where he taught. I was then a student at the school where he taught. And so I was always in the world of teaching from a young age. I always saw what it was like. I had many people to talk to about it, and I heard many stories. So it was very familiar to me by the time I started working in the field from a young age. And so that helps us move on to what other what are your child's strengths? What are their talents? What do they already know how to do? What do they gravitate towards? What are they good at? Do they like managing money? Are they good with numbers? Do they, enjoy animals or plants? Are they someone who's talkative, or maybe they're more reserved? Getting to know not just what their interests are, but what their actual strengths are, or what they're good at, their talents as well. These are all questions that lead to some career exploration that you're going to see me demonstrate a little bit later. And we'll ask these same questions. Do they like to take things apart? Are they good at building something? Do they enjoy spending time in the kitchen? Do they like cooking? Do they have a strong relationship with their grandparents, with their elders? Have you noticed the way they interact with elders, or maybe they're more comfortable with elders than students, their children their own age, or vice versa? Maybe they're better with young children. And you see these things, you're probably aware of these things, and you see this already in your own children. I'm just going to finish the slide before we kind of translate. So that will also help them lead to employability skills. These are a little bit different because they're skills that everyone needs in their daily work life, like typing. Can always be better at that. Computer skills. Our children have a natural talent, I think, for computers. They're so amazing with technology. They keep up with it a lot faster than I do. And so they are so good at this, and I depend on my own children for that. So they already have natural computer skills. Can we develop these even more? Their phone skills. Now, although they know how to use a phone, do they have phone skills? Which is a little different from using the phone. Practicing making a phone call and speaking to someone who's outside of your family is a great employability skill that they need to develop. Dealing with money, and then even timeliness. Those of us who are parents of elder teenagers, we know what it's like getting them up for school, setting alarms. Teenagers in particular rise late. And so being on time to a job can impact their employability as well. So we want to teach these skills that students can develop on their own, that they will need to learn and master for any job that they have. And then looking into what is around you, what's offered around you. I will preview some summer classes that are online, different websites. A lot of these are offered even locally at colleges in New Jersey. My own daughter did something like that. My son did something like that to kind of explore a little further. And so these are, again, the steps that we took to kind of hone in on, okay, what is it that I might want to study when I either go to college, or what career do I want to begin? I think following these steps will help them know more about themselves, and also the career that they want to follow.
Es tan importante que los niños vean a sus familiares o a personas cercanas como el valor que tienen. Entonces, hablando con esas personas, ya sea su tío o tía, su madrina o otras personas en su familia que ya tienen las habilidades en algunas áreas profesionales, es tan importante. También reconocer los talentos naturales de sus niños. ¿A qué se atrae su niño? ¿Serán a los animales, o son buenos con números, o pueden desarmar o construir? Quizás son más cercanos a sus abuelos que a niños de su propia edad. Entonces, dándose cuenta de qué son las áreas en cuales sus niños están atraídos, puede comenzar a fomentar para ustedes qué son sus intereses. Entonces, conectar esos intereses ya con habilidades de empleabilidad. Y esas habilidades son un poquito diferentes de las cosas cotidianas que los niños hacen. Por ejemplo, los niños usan el teléfono diariamente, pero es un poquito diferente saber usar el teléfono y tener la habilidad de usar el teléfono. Por ejemplo, cómo hacer una llamada, cómo el tono en cual se habla en esa llamada con una persona que es extraña. Esas distinciones son tan importantes, especialmente cuando los niños están buscando las habilidades para el empleo. También ya cuando se reconoce cuáles son las habilidades y los talentos naturales de sus niños, comiencen a investigar un poco en clases de verano que quizás sus niños puedan atender o cursos en el web sitio que pueden atender, y muchos de esos cursos quizás sean hasta gratis. También hay clases en las universidades o en los colegios comunitarios que pueden ofrecer más habilidad para crecer la habilidad de sus niños.
So here are some links. And again, if you have access to the parent resource page, I invite you to, if you want to explore on, while you're doing this with me, I will click on the links to show you what it looks like and just to preview that with you. So I've structured the remaining of the presentation. So we'll be looking at these links. The first is a book list of elementary aged books that explore careers. The second, there is it's called the Career Ideas Challenge. It's a middle school. It really could be used as a curriculum. I use this as a teacher, but it also can be used with your own children. And it's actually a great, I'll show you this. It's a great resource because it starts to name careers. And I noticed when I started career exploration, especially with my 13-year-old, that I felt a little out of touch because, especially since I grew up with the What Shall I Be game, there are so many careers today that I've never heard of. I didn't know that exist. I've never heard of these careers, and it will start to name careers for you that are in different categories. So we're going to explore that. And then the last two are actual student-based self-explorations where you can create an account and it actually can save your responses. And the final one is a fantastic resource I highly recommend for entering high school and above, even 8th grade and up. It not only is career exploration, but it will also, you will do the self-assessment, it will lead to careers, and then it matches you to schools, and then it gets you on their list. And so you actually start receiving communications from schools. So I'm going to have Jackie explain that before I start clicking on something.
Puse la información en el chat, pero también esos enlaces dan muchos recursos. Por ejemplo, el primero da actividades para que los niños exploren las diferentes carreras. También el segundo enlace, como mencionó la señorita Churchill, que dan ideas sobre diferentes carreras que nosotros quizás ni tenemos ideas de que existen. Por ejemplo, las carreras de nosotros o de nuestros padres de generaciones anteriores son muy diferentes de las carreras, de las opciones en carreras que los niños tienen hoy. Entonces, para nosotros es importante también amplificar nuestra visión de qué pueden ser nuestros niños. Y el segundo enlace da una oportunidad de investigar eso un poco más. El tercer enlace es una actividad para que los niños puedan planear un poco más sobre sus carreras. Se tiene que obtener una cuenta y hacer un username y contraseña para obtener acceso a esa tercera enlace. Y el último enlace es importante porque no solamente da ideas y acceso a diferentes carreras, pero también da información sobre diferentes escuelas donde sus niños pueden ir a obtener más información y atender la escuela o la universidad. Entonces, así ya el niño puede tener una idea de cuáles son las escuelas que ofrecen clases académicas y técnicas para desarrollar este interés en una carrera específica. Y también le puse en el chat el enlace para la página de recursos donde están estos enlaces.
Okay, so the first is, and I do have these open behind me, so I'll be going back and forth between links and the presentation. So this is the first, it's the career exploration for young children. It's a book list. And again, these books are readily available at your local public library. So you'll see the title of the book and the author next to it. You can click on those. I love this one, Jackie, shoes that you'll wear. So you can click on these and explore. And what I noticed that was interesting in the chat is that many of us who have younger children also have older children. So that's even another great asset that you already have. This is a great book too. I have this one. It's very picture based, and it has a lot of, it almost looks like, what do you call this? Infographics on one page. So it's very dense. This might be a little bit more for, there's a middle school version of this as well that I have. So kids get really interested in that. But it's a great resource if you have older children who can even talk to younger children as well that you have in your family a little bit about things that they're interested in. So that just sort of starts to promote the idea and grow the idea. And again, encourage that envisioning. So students have possibilities of what are the possibilities, or how do I envision myself or see myself? You'll see these pop-ups. That does happen. It just happens when you click on, these links. So that's our first link. I'm going to let Jackie talk a little bit about that.
Sí. El primer enlace es una lista de diferentes libros que ofrecen ideas para diferentes carreras. Entonces, esos libros están disponibles en su biblioteca. Pueden ir y agregar los libros en su biblioteca por gratis. También una idea es investigar si, por ejemplo, tiene hijos que son un poco mayor, tener a sus hijos mayor, platicar con sus niños menores sobre las ideas y los intereses que tienen ellos. Muchos de estos libros tienen retratos y explicaciones y diferentes cosas para ayudar a sus niños a tener una visión de qué quieren hacer ellos cuando sean mayores. De nuevo, es tan importante que los niños empiecen a verse como alguien a una persona con carrera, con interés, y esos libros le ayudan a enfocarse.
And then the next is the Career Ideas Challenge is the one that I mentioned that starts to put career, or I should say almost job titles under career categories. So you might, your child might not even, think or consider these categories, so that there's, again, it takes us past the what shall I be categories where I was limited to 6. And of course I chose one of them, which was teacher. But there are so many professional categories that you might not think of, that I did not think of. And then inside here, of course, they're all interested in video game designer. But here it is. And not only does it actually list these categories, but you can click on them and explore them. So it starts to, this is really the beginning of the exploration. Again, this is middle school. I could even use this with 5th grade and above. This is something that I even used. And let's say you're interested in veterinarian, which is listed here under the STEM category, science, technology, engineering, and math. And so when you click on these, you have these, it's a readable text in English. However, it tells you a little bit about what the career is, what the schooling expectation would be, and then it gets students to just think about questions that you can start asking or they can start looking at. And then even possibly, okay, maybe can I visit an animal shelter? Can I visit an animal hospital? Can I talk to my own vet if I have a pet? So for teachers, it's a great resource, but it's also a great resource for parents because it gets kids a chance of just looking and talking about what's here. Again, I'm not sure. I need to go back and see if that's actually in Spanish, but if, I don't know if that would translate if you have your computer in Spanish, if it's able to do that. But that's what I like about this website is it starts to give you that, here's what it looks like in each category, and these are possible careers.
Este web sitio es muy útil, no solo porque da ideas sobre las diferentes carreras, pero entre cada categoría de carrera también tiene títulos de trabajos que pueden o posiciones en estas carreras. Entonces, le da una idea más concreta a los niños en qué puede hacer cuando crezca y sea mayor. Por ejemplo, puede ser veterinaria. Siempre, esta palabra siempre la turbo. Pero entonces, cuando uno hace el clic en cada de estos enlaces, puede investigar un poco más. Por ejemplo, cuando haga un clic en el título del trabajo, también le da información sobre las expectativas escolares para ese trabajo, qué preguntas puede considerar. Y también esas preguntas le da idea a los padres. Por ejemplo, una de las preguntas puede ser, ¿puedo hablar con el veterinario local para hacerle preguntas, o puedo hacer una visita a una escuela, o qué escuela tiene esta profesión? Entonces, este web sitio aquí es muy útil para ser más concreto en los intereses de los niños.
Thank you. And then I have the career clusters activity and the NJCAN. I'm going to go to the next slide because I have those listed there. Okay, I'll explore those in a little bit. I want to just almost step to the side here and also get back to one of my suggestions on that original list, which was exploring courses, or what kinds of courses that are possible if a student is interested, like my own daughter was interested in medicine. Once we went through the process, and I was kind of surprised by that choice, but all of her self-assessments that she did in NJCAN led her to this. It gives you a series of possible careers that might align with your skills and your interests. And I thought, okay, so we looked at different courses. We found one offered locally in a New Jersey university, and she took a course over the summer. And I said, medicine is a big commitment, and I want to make sure you want to be in this field, because it's not, I kind of felt like I'm not sure it's the right field to suddenly leave once you're in it, or that it's a huge commitment. And I want to make sure that this is a career for you. This is something that you want to explore. There are, these are 4 websites that have free online courses you can try. These are great opportunities over the summer, so it doesn't really interfere with schoolwork. I actually know a teacher friend who's doing some courses through edX and Udacity, and they do have free options. This one in particular, Udacity, has a 3-month trial, which is great to do over the summer. And they will also personalize some courses if you work with them and say, I can only pay a certain amount. So there's some options there. And then Learningpath. So I have these open. I can kind of click and show while you're talking, Jackie, just because that might keep us maybe, I want to also get to the final 2. So I'm going to click on these links while Jackie talks a little bit about that. Is that okay? Or do you want to see the slide as you talk?
So, la presentadora va a abrir algunos de estos enlaces, los links, para enseñarle qué contiene cada enlace a lo que yo doy la traducción. Entonces, para comenzar, le puse en el chat.
Oh, you're muted.
Le puse en el chat el enlace para uno de los recursos que mencionó la señorita Churchill. Principalmente este recurso es útil porque le da una oportunidad a su niño para ver qué son los cursos que le pertenecen a esta carrera. Entonces también eso es una oportunidad para que los niños comiencen a quizás tomar algunos cursos durante el verano. Muchos de los cursos también en línea son gratis, o pueden hablar sobre el costo y cómo acomodar el costo en una forma que sea conveniente y accesible para usted. Entonces, el web sitio que le puse ahí en el chat, uno sí tiene que empezar una cuenta, es gratis. De nuevo, obtener el username y la contraseña para entrar en el web sitio. Una de las cosas que se recomienda mucho es explorar durante el verano. porque esa es una manera de tomar cursos en la universidad o en colegios o en diferentes plataformas en línea para así investigar que si el interés que tiene sus niños es algo que tiene mérito para estudiar y lograr una carrera.
Something else to mention too, Jackie, and I know this from the teacher that my teacher friend who's been using some of these websites. Again, these are some of those career fields I mentioned that I didn't really know anything about. I did not grow up in the age of STEM. I don't really know what coding is. I've never taken a coding class, but our children do. They're interested and they talk about cybersecurity. I don't know what that is. Not really sure what's in data analytics. And what's interesting is some of these courses as well, again, my friend who's taking them, they may or may not be offered in a university. And this is a sort of up and coming field where it's a little more apprenticeship style. Universities are sponsoring them because they don't offer these courses, but it does lead to tech certifications. And that is something that's very employable. So when we talk about employability schools, a lot of times the technology piece or the computer piece that our children already know, and that's a skill that they can develop. And again, a lot of these places are able to work with you a little bit. They may offer that free trial period. So I'll stop so you can talk, and I'm just going to continue to click on some more.
Uno de los websitios que acaba de enseñar es importante porque a veces las universidades no tienen acceso a estos cursos, entonces tienen una afiliación con estos websitios para ofrecer el contenido de los diferentes cursos, especialmente algunos de los cursos que son más avanzados en el tiempo de hoy, como de la ciencia y no sé cómo se dice la palabra coding en español, pero pero uno de, say that again, Maggie.
I know. There's no way to translate this. How do we say this?
Entonces, pero uno de los beneficios de esta plataforma es que el niño puede lograr un aprendizaje, una certificación en la industria en cual busca su carrera. Entonces, esa certificación, de nuevo, es una habilidad que crece la empleabilidad de su niño. Y es tan importante porque ya en ese entonces su niño también está viendo de manera real cómo es el trabajo, me gusta, no me gusta. Y es una forma de tener una experiencia antes de entregarse enteramente a una carrera.
Jackie, this website is called Learningpath.org for parents who have current high school students. If they are also looking to, let's say you have students who are new arrivals in high school, and we know, math is so specialized in high school, very rigorous. They do have free online math courses in fundamental algebra and geometry. And they will tell you on this website if it's free. And then they also have AP offerings through other universities. So this one's called learningpath.org. It's a little bit more oriented to high school, which is why I like it. And it's a great website to do and work with your child on. And they are usually the ones, like I said, once I matched my daughter into NJCAN, she was able to kind of self-direct her, bring herself through there. But this is a great one in particular that helps also deal with, current courses you might be taking in high school, or you want to, increase your just background knowledge on. They tell you if it's online. They tell you if there's actual like text or notes that you need to take. Or there are things that are downloadable. So that's another great resource that's on the slide.
El recurso que acabo de entrar en el chat también es muy útil por diferentes razones, pero hay cursos que pueden ayudar especialmente a recién llegados que quizás necesitan un poquito más información o antecedente sobre la matemática o la ciencia o cualquier otro curso, ese base que se puede aprender antes de tomar el curso en la secundaria. este web sitio es particular para niños en la secundaria y en el web sitio indica si, if you could circle the word free while el web sitio indica si el curso es gratis o no. So cuando está visitando a este web sitio, uno puede ver, este curso sí es gratis, deje tomarlo, o ver el costo. Y si tiene un costo, a veces pueden platicar con el help desk o el chat del web sitio a ver si pueden haber un descuento.
Okay. And then again, there are local universities that will offer courses for high school students. It's exploratory. That's what my daughter took, was just a pre-med interest course at FDU. We did pay for the course. So again, I felt that it was worth it because I wanted to make sure she understood the commitment and that this was a career that she, would be, that she envisioned herself following, or she would be interested in studying. She really didn't have a sense of what she wanted to major in. And so it was a really helpful process. And that's what I'm going to segue into next. Go ahead.
No, solo para repetir, muchas de las universidades sí ofrecen cursos abiertos en línea para estudiantes de secundaria o adultos. Esos son por interés o no certificados. De nuevo, es una manera de que sus niños empiecen a explorar un poco más de sus intereses, a ver si quieren entrar en esa carrera antes de entregarse completamente para esta carrera, especialmente si como la hija de la señorita Churchill estaba interesada en medicina. Y como mamá le preguntó, bueno, es una decisión muy grande entrar en medicina y vamos a asegurarnos antes de cometerse uno a esta educación que sería por muchos años. Y estos web sitios pueden ayudar a sus niños de nuevo a entender un poco más sobre la carrera, explorar los cursos y la dedicación que se necesita para la carrera antes de dar un sí definitivo.
So the next two websites are really about the actual process that your child can participate in. So there's a middle school one, which is educationplanner.org. Your child will go through a series of assessments that help them identify what their strengths and interests are. And I have just sort of some suggestions here of what to explore. There's a section called Find Careers, and they have 7 activities there for your child. There are additional sections on preparing for school where they give suggestions, ways for paying for school, and as I mentioned, the self-assessment. So I'm going to just share and show a little bit there. It has a nice kind of user-friendly feel. So again, here's that student section. They can participate in some of these. Again, kind of go through the career planning. The self-assessments are the pieces where they start to ask you, what are your study habits? What are your behaviors? Where do you rank? They ask them to make choices and to rank things. They ask you questions about your learning style. How do you solve problems? Do you like to work with others? Are you better in a group? Do you like to work by yourself? And then they focus a little bit on study habits and ways to build character. So the self-assessments are important to do because they're going to ask you these 20 questions, and that actually helps determine and help them make suggestions, and it helps to start match you towards, okay, so if this is who I am, then these could be some potential careers. It starts to kind of map you in a certain direction.
En este web sitio es útil porque hay una serie de evaluaciones que su niño puede tomar para ver si hay compatibilidad en sus intereses con la carrera. Entonces, las diferentes evaluaciones también da paso por paso en términos de esas son mis intereses, qué son las carreras que pueden dar con esos intereses, que son las escuelas que ofrecen cursos para obtener acceso académico a esos cursos para llegar a esa carrera. Entonces, paso por paso, es como una planificación educativa para su niño, llegar de la educación al interés a la carrera.
And in the parent section, they start to explore, as I mentioned, money skills and having financial literacy is a part of most schools from middle school into high school. So they've already had some exposure in school, but it starts to present the idea of how do I plan for education? What are the costs of college? How it's important to save. And then they will, we start to build awareness of the kinds of things that they will have to do in high school to apply for college, like the FAFSA. So these are sort of questions and ways to explore before they enter high school. And these are things they can start to be, they can be aware about. It helps to build your awareness as well as a parent if you're new to the process, although many of you have older children, so maybe you've been through this process before, but those are resources that are here for you as well.
También hay recursos para padres para crecer su conocimiento del proceso para apoyar a sus niños. Por ejemplo, hay información en cómo planificar para la educación, cómo ahorrar para la educación, también los diferentes pasos que se necesita para su niño, por ejemplo, la aplicación para diferentes I am spacing on the word loan.
Money
oh
to
my
borrow.
God.
Money to borrow. Money to borrow. Borrowed money. Borrowed money.
Un préstamo, el préstamo. It's like, información sobre cómo obtener becas y préstamos para pagar para la educación de sus niños. Entonces, esta información también tiene diferentes preguntas que los padres deben tener conocimiento o deben de preguntar a personas que tienen las respuestas para estas preguntas.
And then on the next slide, don't be afraid of the slide. These are really directions from me. So the last slide is called NJCAN. It is a state website. It is New Jersey career, oh my gosh, I forgot. Talk about spacing out. Career something network, career.
Assistance Navigator.
Thank you. That's what I meant. Career Assistance Navigator. Most states have this. Pennsylvania has one. So a lot of states have this. This is a New Jersey based navigation. So it takes you through a process. These are the steps that I followed with my child. So I'm just listing them here for you. The most important thing that you do need to know is that if your school does not have an account, which I'm finding that most do not, because I actually emailed them separately and they said, does your school have an account? So if they do not, and you have no login, you can click on New Jersey resident and that will also get you through. There is a box on the right and you can use the Spanish language version. Yes. And then I kind of recommend go through the get started and begin with those assessments. The difference is between not having an account is that you may need to screenshot, your child will know what that is, to screenshot answers or results so that you can capture it and just put it into a Word document. And that way you can capture your profile. And I recommend doing the kind of short version. The short version is 60 questions, which is a lot. The long version is 180 questions. And so I'm going to go to that website while Jackie does some translation.
La señorita Churchill va a visitar el web sitio a lo que yo hago la traducción. Este web sitio, uno puede hacer clic en donde dice New Jersey Resident, que es residencia del estado de aquí de Nueva Jersey. Si no tiene una cuenta, parece que uno tendría que hacer screenshots, que es como se dice en inglés, pero tomar retratos de la pantalla de la computadora ya cuando haga las diferentes evaluaciones y de sus resultados. Trying to remember what else was there.
Language. There's a Spanish language version.
Okay, thank you. That was the one. También este web sitio tiene la función de la traducción en español. Entonces, usted puede ver toda esta información en español. También hay diferentes evaluaciones, de nuevo, para el desarrollo de su plan para su carrera. Hay un cuestionario con 60 o 180 preguntas. Se recomienda comenzar con el cuestionario de 60 preguntas y hace una manera de no solamente hacer, ¿cómo se dice? Encontrar carreras que se brinden con los intereses de los niños, pero también qué son los diferentes programas de aprendizaje, de educación, qué son los programas de estudio en las universidades, y también aprender un poco más sobre el proceso de pagar los estudios, ya sea por becas o préstamos.
And so what this is going to do, it's going to take you through a series of questions. It's going to ask the same questions in a different way on different screens. And the reason for that is to determine validity, that you consistently answer that question in the same way. So if I ask you, what are the things you like to do? Build kitchen cabinets. That's a definite no. Lay brick or tile. I don't think so. Develop a new medicine. Okay, that might be, maybe more of my interest. So it's going to start to ask you similar or the same question again for consistency. So it's making sure that you are consistent in your results or your answers. It takes you eventually to results. And then what it does from there is it starts to match you to possible career paths. And then it will link you of these careers. It may start to choose and say, okay, I prefer this one over that one. So again, it's a series of ranking activities, and it will capture those results, and it helps inform the next activity that it suggests for you. And then eventually you can look at occupations. It asks you to sort different occupations. Let me see if I can, here it is. Would I prefer this or that? So again, you can print this. There's a print version if it's something that you want to work on with students in a high school. It asks you to prioritize. What are the things that if I had a recommended list, what are the 10 things that people find to be important? And then again, it starts to match you from there. Here are schools that offer programs in your career interests, and then you can actually put in a mailing address and start to receive information from these schools. And that's actually the process that I went through with my own daughter to help actually identify the school where she is currently a student. We didn't even know about it. I had no idea that they had one of the top programs in biology, and she is currently a student at Albright College in Pennsylvania, and she received a significant scholarship from them. They pursued her very early on because we identified them through NJCAN, the Career Assistance Navigator.
So, con este web sitio de nuevo, uno comienza respondiendo a una serie de preguntas. Las preguntas a veces son hechas, la misma pregunta son hechas de varias maneras para asegurar que la información que está respondiendo sea consistente. Entonces, ya cuando termine esa serie de preguntas, uno hace clic en resultados, en results. Y eso nos lleva a las diferentes carreras que son posibles. También hace compatibilidad en cuáles son las escuelas que ofrecen los cursos para esa carrera. Uno de los beneficios de este web sitio es que la información también es brindada con las universidades y los colegios. Entonces, ya esas universidades también están viendo quién tiene interés en una carrera o en su escuela. Entonces, ellos también le pueden mandar más información sobre registro en una universidad en particular. Por ejemplo, la hija de la señorita Churchill, así fue para ella, que identificó a una universidad que en sí ni se habían dado cuenta de que la universidad era una de las mejores en la área de biología. Entonces, ya cuando decidió aplicar para esa universidad, fue una de las primeras porque su información fue dada por este web sitio. Entonces, esas conexiones que este web sitio hace con las diferentes universidades están integrar en el proceso para avanzar a su niño para el próximo paso.
So I know we're at the end, and I just wanted to give some time in case anyone has any questions. I know at 12 o'clock we have to return to the main room. I want to thank Jackie for helping me. It's quite a job. I owe you big time. So are there any questions?
Hola, muchas gracias por toda la información que me dio. Y sí, yo creo que estaría interesada en aplicar para los cursos gratis, porque yo tengo 3 niños de diferentes edades. Mi primera hija no sabe todavía qué va a estudiar, pero el segundo niño ya tiene una idea de lo que él sí quiere, de lo que él desea estudiar, y pues si él me gustaría que él supiera más sobre esa información, ya que él está interesado en eso y sobre de los links para los cursos gratis y todo eso. Y también vi que había algo así sobre el verano, pero no sé dónde me tengo que inscribir o cuáles serían los horarios, o si es aquí cerca en Hillsdale o tendría que ser en otro lugar.
So, ¿usted está en computadora?
Sí.
Ok, so en bajo donde está la burbuja que dice la palabra chat.
Abajo de dice chat.
Donde está la burbuja, ya ve, haz clic en esa burbuja que dice la palabra chat.
Ajá.
Entonces se abre una pantalla. En esa pantalla le puse el enlace que puede hacer clic. Y ahí tiene todos los links para los diferentes web sitios que le comentó la señorita Churchill durante esta presentación. Y ya cuando visite a esos web sitios hay diferente información dependiendo en el interés de su niño y también dependiendo en la universidad y dónde está colocada. No sé si Maggie, if you wanted to share anything else. I just shared with her the parent resource page.
Todo estar llamando cada rato.
Yeah. Y también una manera de buscar más información es con el consejero o la consejera de su niño. Comenzando a hablar con el consejero o la consejera para platicar un poco más sobre las informaciones. También le puede llevar esta página con los recursos y pedirle ayuda en cómo navegar a esos recursos.
And the PowerPoint is in English and Spanish on the parent resource page.
Y la presentación que se acaba de dar también está disponible en la página de recursos en el enlace que le puse en el chat.
Sí, ok.
¿Sí lo accesó? ¿Sí lo pudo abrir? Okay.
Sí. Digamos que su asesor ahorita de ella sería todavía en la escuela de la George White, ya que ella todavía no va a la high school, ¿no?
Repítame una vez más.
Que digamos que el asesoramiento que ella ahorita, digamos, le van a dar sería en la escuela de la George White, ya que todavía no ingresa a la high school.
Me imagino que sí, no tengo una respuesta definitiva. No conozco esa escuela, pero de nuevo, sí hay, bueno, debe de haber una consejera en su escuela ahora que le puede hacer algunas de estas preguntas. También usted como madre puede ir a, darle el web sitio puede ir a este web sitio que también lo añadí en el chat y entrar donde dice New Jersey Residents y ahí puede hacer clic en la página para que le llegue en español. Este web sitio sí está traducido en español.
Ok, muchísimas gracias por la información y por toda la ayuda que nos
Gracias
brinda.
No, gracias a usted. ¿Otra pregunta?
No, eso es todo.
Muchas gracias, Jackie. I'm so grateful. We should present in the future, co-present. I know everyone has returned, so I want to thank everyone for joining me. I think I should hit stop record, Jackie, Kathy.